I can't get no bad grades. My mama said if I get A's, I get paid. Wake up, brush my teeth, make my bed. Too fell out, I need that bread. Yeah, it's paid for on the way.
When Young Rahdo first came across my Instagram page, my initial reaction was to his voice first. Not only was it unique, but it was kind of oddly polished for a kid his age. You know, nowadays, that means your first initial reaction is it AI? But then I started actually paying attention to what he was singing and rapping about.
I can't get no bad grades.
A song about bad grades. And I was just sitting there waiting. I think my brain is unfortunately preconditioned to look for the finesse, look for the switch up. When are you about to start rapping about something a kid your age has no business rapping about? But that moment never came. Matter of fact, he stayed on topic. He talked about bad grades, losing a tooth, and even his mama promising him money if he gets straight A's. Something about it was just a fresh breath of air. So of course, I went to his Instagram page and decided to dig a little deeper. That's when I found a song called Miss Jackson.
Keisha told me that she liked me, that she liked the Marcus too. I seen her kiss him on the cheek. I ain't know what else to do.
How could you, DeMarcus? And that's when a thought crossed my mind. When did kid rap lose its innocence? Now, the original plan was just to react to his music, share it with you guys in hopes that you'll share it with somebody else. But then I saw a video by Kev on Stage that made me say maybe this deserves an even deeper dive.
Young Rahdo is a 9-year-old kid doing age-appropriate raps, children's stuff, riding bikes, juice, candy, age-appropriate rap.
Imagine that. A 9-year-old rapping about 9-year-old things. Ironically, around the same time, there was another video that was going viral. The centerpiece of the video was a young dude holding what looked to be a designer bag, surrounded by a circle of teenager and young kids singing a certain song at the top of their lungs. Young Miami's Spin That. Where all my scamming ass niggas at? Spinning that money fast. Boosting bitches where y'all at? Stuffing that ish in y'all bag. Just to flip it and pop some tags. Girl, go in that go-yard bag. Spin that ish. Spin that ish. And as you imagine, the internet had a lot to say about that. And to a certain degree, I had a lot to say about it too, but maybe not in the way that most of you expect. Now, this isn't a video just about Young Rahdo or trying to pit the image of Young Rahdo versus a young Miami in that video. It's about what the image of a viral Young Rahdo coming out of Chicago of all places, the hometown of drill, actually represents. A balance and a wider range of imagery than what the record business has been obsessed with when selling images about black children. Now, one of the points I do want to make in this video, and it's likely a hot take for a lot of y'all, is that the existence of a Young Miami Spin That is actually making a Young Rahdo more impactful in this time. Why? Well, I think it proves what we already know as black folks. We are not monolithic. Let me take you somewhere for a second. Some of my fondest memories were in elementary school, right? I had a best friend named Christopher Richardson, and I think his family was rich, or at least rich compared to what my family was. They had a big house in a peaceful neighborhood, a pool in the backyard, and he also had a game room with a big screen TV. And at the age of like 7 or 8, this boy had a 3DO, he had a Game Boy, a Game Gear, a Sega Genesis, and also a Sega CD. Now, footnote, if you had a Sega CD at that time, oh, you had money. Oh, you got money. So at some point while we're gaming, the subject of music comes up and he asks me, do you listen to Kris Kross? And I'm like, who don't listen to Kris Kross? I was like, bro, I'm low-key trying to get my mama to go get some overalls so I can wear them backwards when we go back to school. He looked at me, he was like, yeah, me too. You want to see something cool? I said, yeah, what you got? That's when this boy leaned over to his case with all the Sega CD boxes, pulled out a box, and it had Kris Kross on the cover, and it was a Sega CD game that I had never saw in my life. My mind was blown. He opens up the box, he pulls out the CD, puts it into his Sega CD, and that CD played the music video for a song called I Miss the Bus by Kris Kross.
I miss the bus, and there's something I would
You play it again? Oh, that's crazy, bro. Play it again. That moment mattered because I got to just be a stupid, silly, curious kid. And whatever the adults might have been worried about in the other rooms was the least of our concerns. Matter of fact, we was trying to figure out, if you take this side of Stretch Armstrong and I go all the way over here, can we break him? Hey, yo. And because Christopher's big house, toys, and video games weren't necessarily mine, I don't think I was able to see the privilege of such an innocent moment. I see it now. Historically speaking, specifically in hip hop and R&B, that appetite for black kids making music for black kids has always existed. Another bad creation was singing songs about Aisha in 1991. Criss Cross was making songs about jumping, and these groups were commercial forces. It wasn't like they were the equivalent of SoundCloud rappers. They weren't underground. They were household names. It was actually normal to see kids rapping about the lives of kids. And I believe that's why the music sold so well. We as kids saw pieces of ourselves inside the music that they sold to us. And of course, in the early 2000s, Lil Romeo was in the same lane as Bow Wow. Pretty much a standard, clean rap kid image. Here's the irony about the adults in that period though. Lil Romeo's father was Master P.
In the project, anything goes.
Some would say one of the most explicit voices at that time with no limit in Southern rap. But when it came to Little Romeo, Master P drew a hard line when it came to the image and representation of his son in the music business. But as I think about the idea of a kid rapper today, a question comes to mind. When did the alignment of a child's age, a child rapper's age, in their musical content start to shift? Now, I can't give you an exact date, but what I can tell you is something that has always bothered me ever since I saw it at 15 in Lil Bow Wow's music video for his song, What's My Name. There is a clip in that video where he is reciting lyrics inside of his song, just like any other music video. And you see this little boy, as a kid, say, risen up his school teacher and summoning her to come to his desk. That wasn't weird to y'all? It was this idea that it was somehow normal to see a young black kid act way beyond their age. Because after all, it's just entertainment. By his mid-teens, Bow Wow had aged out of that lane completely. But boy, we had no idea what was coming up next, did you?
Soulja Boy, tell me.
When I first heard Soulja Boy's music, and more so what he was rapping about, I ain't gonna hold you, it reminded me of that little badass kid that your mama said you better not be hanging out with. And if you hang out with him, you better not get no problem, because I ain't coming to bail you out. But it represented an avatar of somebody that felt real. It was like, damn, even a little badass kid got somebody to look up to now. And instead of being a badass, they can learn this new dance. Superman that hoe. Nothing about Soulja Boy felt industry packaged at that time. And as I'm thinking about it, it wasn't a kid that introduced me to him. It was actually a grown woman that I had just took out on a date. She's bad too. And in a much more drastic way than Bow Wow's evolution, as Soulja Boy got older, the kid clothes became neck tattoos. The content got heavier. Songs about that don't. But to shoot Soulja Boy some bail, I imagine that lifestyle had him growing up a lot faster than whatever age was on his ID card. One thing I always did wonder though, as Soulja Boy transitioned from his preteens, eventually into his teens and adulthood, what happened to them babies that were fans of his that only transitioned to being kids? What did that do to the kids who didn't have his money or circumstances, watching them grow up so damn fast? Now, Soulja Boy didn't do anything wrong simply by growing up, but the kids he made an impression on were still kids. And as time went on, not only did this kid rapper blueprint continue, but it got a hell of a lot more extreme. I don't know what it is, but when I see a kid cussing, my knee-jerk reaction is to laugh.
Say, hey, Vine.
It's like watching the first few seconds of a car crash. You just stuck. And it was funny until it's one of your little kids, one of your little cousins, one of your little brothers or sisters. That's when those little RT videos went from being comic relief to being concerning.
My name is Sheikah.
You 360.
360? You want it fast or slow? The 360.
Slow.
One of those moments for me was when I started to see clips of Lil RT on these YouTube channels that do this dating content, you know, the format where they pop the balloon and whatnot. And it showed Lil RT in this dating format doing a 20v1. Now keep in mind, in these clips, Lil RT is likely 10 or 11 years old, and the age range for a lot of these guests are even younger than that. And even though there are adults on the set, and most of the conversations are around little kid related topics like gaming and playing around and whatnot, it was the optics for me.
We ain't here for you, little bro. Oh! Step to the side. Step to the side. We here for your mama.
Okay, all types of shit.
At the very least, I think the optics are inappropriate. There's a good enough argument to make for how this looks like exploitation. Because even though there were adults in the room, they were letting these kids say whatever the hell they wanted to say.
You a gangster? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Nonetheless, these videos pulled in a lot of views. It made me empathize with those kids, especially when I think about that story I told you about me and my buddy Chris. We were given the opportunity to just be kids, without fear that somebody would use our childhood for financial gain. So watching a young rapper like Lil RT and just kids that age in general be paraded around for profit, it's heartbreaking to witness. But it's not something that's beyond my understanding, especially when I think about the adults that might have raised the adults in that room. So before I pass judgment, I'm empathetic. But that empathy goes out the door when I think about the music industry. The music industry has always known what it was doing. Take a young black kid, put whatever image is driven by their own stereotypes, extract all their value and commercial success, and then choose to move on when it all runs out. Yeah, we've seen this play before. But Soulja Boy, Lil Bow Wow, and Lil RT didn't create this truth. And they for damn sure didn't create this blueprint. But their stories did go viral enough, especially a Lil RT, that you would think it would teach us a valuable lesson, that you would think we would learn something new from it. At times, it doesn't seem we have. Let's go back to that viral Spin That video.
So you encouraging young motherfuckers to go and scam and commit crimes and do all kind of dumb shit. And you encouraging the young girls to deal with niggas like that.
Dog, I can't express to you how uncomfortable watching these kids singing about scamming and boosting made me feel, especially in this modern day climate where you're seeing political voices, white nationalists, just flat out racists use different avenues to amplify their racism. These are the videos that they'll hold up as an example of how out of control the black community is, how unhinged and over-sexualized the young kids are. These are their favorite videos to share on Facebook. But forget them, let's just talk parent to parent. If that was one of my kids singing them lyrics about boosters and scammers, I would feel like I failed them. But before I pass too much judgment, I think about a younger version of me. I too remember being at a birthday party at a skating ring, and when my mama and daddy wasn't there, I was singing lyrics that I had no business singing. It ain't no fun when I met you last night, baby. Now you know that. You ain't gotta say it too much when I look in your eyes. I can tell you wanna. Oh yeah, we was singing at the top of our lungs too, wasn't we? Huh. Yes, my generation too sang things we had no business singing at that age. But some of those songs are like bookmarks. They represent moments in time, some of the best times. And those moments had very little to do with what was actually being talked about in them songs. And it was adults at our skating rings too. It was elders there that I'm sure were cringing. And even though those songs went against their value system, some of those adults said, well, tonight, we'll just let kids be kids. We'll let them have one night. As I recall, most of these songs weren't even a reflection of our reality. They were more so just the BPM of how life was at that time. And in a weird way, I guess I'm kind of grateful that the adults didn't shut it down. Because at least it means some of our childhood memories would not be exclusively tied to trauma, to being broke, to losing loved ones. We got to just literally be kids. So yes, while I undeniably cringe at this Young Miami video going viral, I still remember. I don't know how many of the parents in that particular room were uncomfortable too. I don't know how many of those same kids go home to somebody telling them to get their grades up, just like young Rado mama did.
My mama said if I get A's, I get paid.
And for the parents out there that are clutching their pearls and passing all kind of judgment on these babies and their parents, man, watch out. Save some of that energy for these record labels that daily profit off of these very same stereotypes. These record execs choose what they want to push and the images that are omnipresent in these kids' neighborhoods and social medias. Because after all, the algorithm didn't build itself. Typically, overly positive rap music is seen as corny. The kids call it burger music now.
Gross! Who the f is this mullet-haired burger-fied?
But Young Rado's different. To me, Young Rado isn't corny. I mean, just look at who's showing up daily in his comments. Established artists like Offset, 42 Doug, Brent Faiyaz. What's different about Young Rado is that he's taking the same hooks that make trap music addictive. And he's using those skills to tell stories that only a 9-year-old could actually live in. And my argument is not to demonize a Young Miami to validate a Young Rado, but that I would prefer a reality where there's a stage for both of those to exist. Especially if the content is based in reality and what it means to be a human in 2026, I want room for them both to exist. I have a son, and I'm a parent of one kid. Young Rado gives my son an option that I was lucky enough to have growing up. Music that feels relatable to my age without being preachy or corny. And keep in mind, my son's musical palette is crazy. He's all over the place because my wife and I love everything. It's kind of fire that my son is fans of the Clips, Kendrick Lamar, SZA, Mariah the Scientist, and now Young Rado. Watching Young Rahdo's videos feels like the cartoons I came up on. An alternative world that calmed you down instead of aiming to overstimulate your senses. If you go down his Instagram, you'll see he has videos showing his artist development process right alongside his dad and his uncle.
Speak, I get shy, don't know what to say.
What's up? All right, let's move on. Let's go somewhere else.
Stare at that guy right there. Cause that's the guy, that's who you in competition with right there.
And it's beautiful to see black role models in action. You even got videos of him showing his young friend Devin how he samples the music that he eventually sings and raps over. And it kind of reminds me of me and my homie Christopher Richardson. Just watching these videos that show a contrasting point of view than what the media wants to show about healthy black families is a beautiful thing to see. Simply put, it is nothing but black boy joy in real time.
I can't get no better.
You know, I don't know what the future holds for Young Rahdo, but his existence and his success crushes the narrow point of view that this kind of music is corny or plastic, or only for the people with the privilege to pretend the hard parts of life don't exist. We are not monolithic, and we never have been. Young Rahdo didn't create that truth, but he's a pretty good reminder of it. DIYers, those are my thoughts. You let me know what you think.
I fell in love with a girl in the 6th grade. She don't know it, but she might have my last name. She think I'm young, but I told her we ready though. I think about all around me.